or declarations. It doesn't scream over the noise of the world. Instead, it whispers, it nudges, it taps your shoulder when the room is silent and your mind is still. It shows up in the moments when no one is watching and no one is asking anything of you. Your calling exists in the subtle moments of self-awareness that most people rush past because they are too distracted, too busy, or too afraid to acknowledge that something more is being asked of them. Your calling is not just a dream or a goal. It is a pull, a direction, a sense of inner alignment that says, this is where you are meant to go. But the voice of your calling is gentle, especially in the beginning. It understands that you may not be ready to leap. It starts as a feeling that something in your life does not fit anymore. The job that drains you, the routine that numbs you, the conversations that repeat without meaning, the quiet dissatisfaction that you push aside. Your calling speaks inside that discomfort. It says there is more for you than this. But because it does not shout, you must create space to hear it. Silence is where it becomes clear. Most people are not living the wrong life because they never had a calling. They are living the wrong life because they learned to ignore it. They let the world get louder. They let expectations drown out desire. They surrounded themselves with people who were comfortable, and comfort is contagious. They convinced themselves that the responsible thing to do was to silence the part of them that wanted more. They called it maturity. They called it being realistic. But it was fear disguised as logic. The calling did not disappear. It merely quieted. A whisper is easy to overlook, especially when the world is shouting what you should be, what you should want, and who you should become. Your calling does not force itself on you. It will not argue. It will not beg. It will not fight for your attention. It invites you. It waits for you. And if you do not listen long enough, it fades, not because it wasn't meant for you, but because every calling requires participation. You must meet it halfway. You must say, I hear you, and take the smallest step in its direction. When you take that step, even if it is uncertain, the voice grows stronger. It shifts from whisper to guidance. It becomes clearer, more confident, more grounded. But when you ignore it repeatedly, when you choose distraction over reflection, when you refuse to acknowledge the discomfort of staying where you are, the voice dims. And what replaces it is something far heavier, regret. Regret is not born from failure. Regret is born from silence. From the moments where you knew there was something more and you turned away. From the opportunities you talked yourself out of. From the dreams you told yourself were too big. From the talents you never nurtured. Regret does not appear all at once. It grows slowly. It grows in the spaces where your calling once lived. It grows in the repetition of days that look the same. It grows when your potential remains locked inside you. When the whisper is gone, what remains is the echo of what could have been. But before silence becomes regret, there is a window, a space where your calling is still speaking, still guiding, still urging you to pay attention, to recognize patterns, to acknowledge desires that you didn't choose but were born with, to notice how your energy changes when you talk about certain things, to observe the moments where time disappears because you are fully alive, to remember the younger version of you who dreamed freely before the world taught you to shrink. These are the places your calling lives. It does not need volume, it needs awareness. Listening to your calling requires honesty, the kind of honesty that is uncomfortable, the kind that forces you to admit that something inside you is longing for change, that you are not fulfilled by what you pretend fulfills you, that the life you are living is not the one you once imagined. This honesty is difficult because it requires you to confront the gap between who you are and who you want to be. Many avoid this confrontation. They fill their time, they fill their mind, they stay busy to avoid stillness because stillness reveals truth. But truth is the doorway to purpose, and purpose is always on the other side of listening. Your calling may not make sense to others. That is why it speaks to you and not to them. It is tailored to your experiences, your talents, your perspective, your story. It is not meant to be validated by the world before you pursue it. You are the proof. You are the evidence. When you listen, you get direction. When you act, you get clarity. The calling reveals itself step by step, not all at once. It is not asking you to see the entire path. It is asking you to trust the next step. The whisper becomes clearer when you choose yourself, when you choose authenticity over approval, when you choose growth over comfort, when you choose to explore rather than to settle. The whisper strengthens when you stop asking for permission to become who you are. It strengthens when you stop pretending you are satisfied with less than what you desire. It strengthens when you stop waiting for the perfect moment and begin where you are, exactly as you are, with what you have. Transformation you will ever experience begins with a moment of discomfort. Growth is not gentle. It does not feel pleasant. It does not feel familiar. Growth stretches you, challenges you, exposes your weaknesses, forces you to confront your limitations. Comfort, on the other hand, is easy. Comfort is warm, predictable, and safe. Comfort demands nothing from you. It allows you to remain exactly where you are, as who you are, without resistance. But comfort cannot give you anything greater than what you already have. Comfort is the protector of the person you have been. Discomfort is the gateway to the person you are capable of becoming. When you feel discomfort, your first instinct is to retreat, to step back into the familiar environment where everything is known and manageable. But that instinct is the exact barrier that has stopped countless people from reaching their potential. Discomfort is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is an indicator that you are crossing into territory that your current self has not yet mastered. Growth asks you to be willing to enter that unfamiliar space, to tolerate the awkwardness of being a beginner, to endure the frustration of not being good immediately, to resist the temptation to quit when progress feels slow. The world teaches us to chase ease, convenience, and immediate satisfaction, but nothing extraordinary comes from the path of least resistance. You cannot build strength without resistance. You cannot develop confidence without challenge. You cannot discover who you are capable of being without stepping beyond who you have already been. Discomfort means expansion. It means that your limits are being pushed, and only through pushing limits do limits move. Think about every meaningful milestone in your life. Learning to walk was uncomfortable. Learning to speak was uncomfortable. Learning to interact with others, to express your feelings, to face rejection, to take responsibility. None of these experiences were comfortable, but they were essential. Growth has always demanded your discomfort. You have already lived the proof of that. And yet, as you get older, the tolerance for discomfort often diminishes. You begin to associate it with danger, with failure, with personal flaw. But discomfort is not a warning to stop. It is a signal to pay attention. It is the body and mind saying, we are entering new ground. Stay here. Do not retreat. Comfort creates stagnation. It is the quiet trap that convinces you everything is fine while slowly draining your hunger, your ambition, your curiosity, your fire. When you choose comfort repeatedly, your dreams shrink, your standards shrink, your energy shrinks. You begin to accept less than what you desire, simply because it is easier to do so. You begin to label your limitations as identity. You say, this is just who I am, when in reality, it is who you settled into. Comfort convinces you that the life you have is the only life available, but discomfort reveals how much more you are capable of. Progress does not feel good while it is happening. It feels like friction. It feels like uncertainty. It feels like doubt. But progress is not measured in comfort. It is measured in the distance between who you were yesterday and who you are today. Growth may bring fear, but fear in the presence of action becomes courage. Growth may bring struggle, but struggle in the presence of persistence becomes strength. Growth may bring vulnerability, but vulnerability in the presence of truth becomes power. Choosing progress over comfort means understanding that the path forward will not always feel rewarding in the moment. It means waking up early when your body wants to sleep. It means having difficult conversations when silence would be easier. It means practicing when you would rather distract yourself. It means working on your weaknesses instead of showing off your strengths. It means letting go of the illusion that you can evolve without effort. Progress asks something from you. It asks commitment. It asks discipline. It asks resilience. Comfort asks nothing. Progress asks everything. And what you give determines what you grow into. There will be days where growth feels slow. Days where results are not visible. Days where effort seems to produce nothing. These are the days where most people quit. Not because they are incapable, but because they refuse to sit in the discomfort of being in transition. But growth is rarely visible while it is occurring. It is subtle, internal, a reshaping of identity, mindset, and character. The results become clear later. Growth blooms after the work has already been done. When you choose progress, you choose uncertainty. You choose risk. You choose the possibility of failure. But failure is not the enemy. Failure is data. Failure is direction. Failure is refinement. The only true failure is choosing comfort so consistently that you never allow yourself the chance to change. Progress requires you to put yourself in situations where you are not the most skilled, not the most prepared, not the most confident. Growth is built in the tension between where you are and where you want to go to. Choosing progress means choosing patience. It means trusting the process more than your feelings. Feelings will resist change. Feelings will seek comfort, but intention and discipline can override feelings. You do not need to feel ready to begin. You need to begin so that you can become ready. Discomfort is temporary. Growth is permanent. The pain of change fades. The power earned from change remains. Comfort gives you relief for the moment. Progress gives you transformation for a lifetime. Every time you choose discomfort with purpose, you are shaping a stronger version of yourself, a version capable of more responsibility, more clarity, more courage, more depth, more fulfillment, more purpose. Growth is not an event. It is a decision repeated daily, a willingness to lean into the stretch rather than retreat into the soft, a willingness to look at yourself honestly and decide that who you are today is not the final form of who you are capable of becoming. That life changes in a single moment, some grand turning point, a dramatic choice, a bold leap that instantly transforms everything. But the truth is more subtle. Destiny is shaped quietly, patiently, repeatedly. It is not written in the moment of inspiration, but in the next morning when the inspiration has faded and you still choose to show up. It is not formed in the promise you make to yourself, but in how you honor that promise when no one is watching. One big decision can open a door, but only daily action allows you to walk through it. We like the idea of big turning points because they feel powerful. They feel cinematic, memorable, heroic. But destiny is not built in the highlight moments. It is built in the unseen routines. It is built in the mornings when you rise before you feel ready, in the days you practice even when your progress is slow, in the conversations where you tell the truth instead of what is easy. Destiny is shaped in every choice that seems so small it feels like it doesn't matter. But small choices accumulate, they stack, they compound, and over time they create identity. You do not become disciplined by deciding to be disciplined. You become disciplined by practicing discipline today, and then practicing it again tomorrow. You do not become confident by proclaiming confidence. You become confident by acting while you are uncertain until certainty forms within you. You do not become strong by wanting strength. You become strong by choosing the actions that build strength every day, even when they are uncomfortable. Daily consistency is powerful because it makes success inevitable, not quick, not easy, but inevitable. When you commit to small, meaningful actions every day, you shift your trajectory. The shift may be invisible at first. You may see no proof that anything is changing, but change happens quietly before it happens visibly. The seed grows roots before it breaks the surface. The foundation is laid before the structure can rise. Most people quit before the roots have time to grow, and then they assume growth wasn't possible. But growth was happening. They just didn't stay long enough to witness it. Destiny is not something you find. It is something you build, and you build it through repetition. The repetition is where mastery forms. The repetition is where resilience develops. The repetition is where the person you are becomes the person you are meant to be. Every day you take a step, even a small one, you reinforce the identity of someone who takes steps. Every day you act in alignment with your future rather than your comfort. You strengthen the belief that your future is possible. Many people think they need motivation to be consistent, but motivation is unreliable. Motivation is emotional. It fluctuates. It rises and falls depending on mood, circumstances, or environment. But consistency is not emotional. Consistency is a decision, a discipline, a commitment that remains even when motivation disappears. The people who shape their destiny do not act when they feel like it. They act because it is who they are becoming. They act because consistency is the bridge between desire and reality. You can want transformation. You can dream of what your life could be. You can visualize your goals with clarity, but without consistent action, dreams remain internal. They never cross into the physical world. Reality responds to what you repeat. The body strengthens through repeated movement. The mind sharpens through repeated challenge. The character evolves through repeated discipline. Repetition is not glamorous. It is not exciting. It is not dramatic. But it is powerful in a way that dramatic moments never are. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not crossed by a single leap. It is crossed by steps. Steps that are sometimes slow. Steps that are sometimes tedious. Steps that are sometimes uncomfortable, but steps that move you forward regardless of how far you still have to go. When you commit to those steps, something shifts inside you. You stop relying on external validation. You stop needing approval. You stop seeking shortcuts. You begin to trust yourself. And that trust becomes momentum. The person who takes small actions every day will always surpass the person waiting for the perfect opportunity. The perfect moment does not exist. Conditions will never be ideal. There will always be challenges, distractions, reasons to avoid, reasons to delay. But destiny belongs to the one who acts anyway, to the one who is willing to build slowly, to the one who understands that consistency is not about intensity, but about endurance. You do not need to do everything today. You only need to do something that aligns you with where you intend to go. You become who you practice being. If you practice discipline daily, you become disciplined. If you practice patience daily, you become patient. If you practice courage daily, you become courageous. If you practice choosing growth instead of ease, you become someone who evolves. Every action is a vote for the identity you are becoming. One action does not define you, but repeated actions shape your destiny. You may not see change right away. You may not feel different. You may not have evidence to show anyone, but the lack of immediate evidence does not mean the work is not working. Progress happens internally first. You are rewiring patterns. You are strengthening mental pathways. You are developing emotional resilience. These are transformations that are invisible until they suddenly become undeniable. Destiny is not something that happens to you. It is something you shape through what you do repeatedly. Every day gives you the chance to move closer or farther from the life you are meant to live. Not through dramatic decisions, not through grand declarations, but through simple actions carried out with intention. The small choices matter, the daily effort matters, the quiet discipline matters. The process is slow, but the slow process is where real transformation takes place. Illusions that stops people from stepping into their potential is the belief that they need to be fully prepared before they begin. People tell themselves they need more confidence, more resources, more clarity, more experience, more approval, more certainty. They wait for the perfect version of themselves to show up, as if growth happens first and action comes second. But growth does not happen before the journey. Growth happens because of the journey. The person you think you need to become will only emerge once you start moving. Waiting to be ready is the most effective way to guarantee that you never begin. You are not missing anything essential. You already contain the starting materials necessary to move forward. Curiosity, desire, the ability to learn, the capacity to adapt. These things are enough. You do not need mastery at the beginning because mastery is earned, not inherited. You do not need confidence before the first step because confidence is built through action, not through thought. You do not need guarantees that things will go smoothly because progress has always been built on uncertainty. If certainty were required, no one would begin anything. The path forward has always been revealed through participation, not hesitation. Starting before you feel ready is not recklessness, it is trust. Trust that your abilities will expand as they are challenged. Trust that who you are today is capable of learning what you will need tomorrow. Trust that movement, even imperfect movement, is more valuable than staying still in fear. The idea that you must be fully prepared before you begin is a barrier created by perfectionism. Perfectionism tells you that mistakes must be avoided at all costs, that flaws are proof of failure, that the unknown is dangerous, but mistakes are the proof of progress, flaws are the evidence of trying, and the unknown is where transformation occurs. When you begin, you will not be the best. You will not know everything. You may feel slow, unskilled, uncertain, but every expert began in that same place. Every strong voice once trembled. Every seasoned professional once doubted themselves. Every master once struggled through the simplest steps. The difference between the person who becomes great and the person who remains stuck is not talent, it is willingness. Willingness to be imperfect. Willingness to learn in public. Willingness to begin without knowing exactly how it will unfold. Improvement does not require perfection. It requires repetition. Each attempt teaches you something. Each failure refines your understanding. Each obstacle strengthens your resilience. If you avoid starting because you fear imperfection, you also avoid the process that would have made you capable. The skill comes from doing. The clarity comes from doing. The confidence comes from doing. And doing begins with accepting that it is okay to start small, to start with uncertainty, to start without knowing everything. There is often a quiet belief that once you achieve a certain level of skill or preparation, the fear will disappear. But fear does not vanish with readiness. Fear fades through familiarity. When you do the thing you are afraid of repeatedly, your mind learns it is survivable. Your nervous system adapts, your courage grows. Fear loses its power, not because you removed it beforehand, but because you moved with it. Courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is taking action in the presence of fear, and courage multiplies each time you choose movement over avoidance. There will never be a perfect moment to begin. The path will never be fully visible from the start. You will never have all the answers you think you need at the beginning. If you wait for everything to align, life will pass while you are waiting. Progress belongs to the person who begins before they are ready. The moment you start, you step into a new identity. The identity of someone who takes responsibility for their growth. The identity of someone who participates in their own development instead of waiting for circumstances to change. The identity of someone who understands that beginnings are always imperfect but necessary. You already have the capacity to learn what you do not know. You have the ability to adjust when things do not go as expected. You have the resilience to recover from setbacks. You have the creativity to solve problems you have not yet encountered. These abilities are activated through action, not preparation. Action brings clarity. Action brings feedback. Action brings direction. When you start, even if your first steps are uncertain, you create momentum. And momentum is powerful. Momentum turns effort into progress, progress into belief, and belief into identity. The idea that you must earn permission to begin is a narrative shaped by comparison. When you look at people who are already skilled, successful, or established, it is easy to forget the thousands of unseen steps that built their capabilities. You see the polished result, not the messy beginning, but every polished result was once a messy beginning. The beginning is supposed to be rough, uneven, awkward. That is the nature of learning. Trying to avoid the awkwardness of starting ensures you remain in the comfort of stagnation. The discomfort of growth is temporary. The discomfort of regret is lasting. Improvement is a continuous process. You do not need to know everything today. You only need to begin today. Tomorrow you will learn something new. The day after, something more. Progress is cumulative. It builds slowly at first and then rapidly once enough momentum exists. But none of that momentum can be accessed if you never take the first step. The first step is not meant to be impressive. It is meant to be real. It is the moment you choose direction over hesitation. The moment you say, I will grow because I am willing to grow. You do not become ready and then start. You start and then you become ready. The beginning is not proof of your final ability, but proof of your willingness to become more than you are now. You are already enough to take the first step. You are already enough to try. You are already enough to learn. You are already enough to begin. Improvement will happen along the way. Growth will unfold as you move. The path will reveal itself as you walk it. The strength you need tomorrow will be built through the steps you take today.